Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the redo. That's what we're officially calling this episode. Today's date is Tuesday, October 17th, 2017. Yesterday, on Monday, October 16th, we had a show. I did, I can't tell. It's hard to tell one story without telling the other one, and so it makes it even more difficult to know where to start. Because I got to tell you, man, I've talked about this before about this happening, and I talked not too long ago about it happening. Yesterday was probably one of the worst ones because, well, I haven't been here for a couple of weeks. I've been on a hiatus, and I've just had been unable to even do a show or talk about any of this stuff until yesterday. Took a lot of gutting up and a lot of me, finally getting to be okay with everything enough to get on air and talk about it. And I checked everything. I double checked. I do double checks now just to make sure that never happens. And I checked everything. I guess there's a chance it may happen again right now as I'm doing this. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully not. Hopefully you're hearing this and it sounds normal. But yeah, I did double checks yesterday and everything was working fine. I don't know. Considering what I talked about yesterday and considering the content of the show, it wouldn't surprise me if it was messed with in some way. Because everything was working 100%. I did a double check on the show. And I really did do, it really was. I have no problem, talking about the same stuff I talked about on the show yesterday. But I can't lie to you and tell you that I'm going to deliver it with the exact same emotional impact that I had, because I kind of really don't want to. It sucks. It really just sucks all around because I don't really want to talk about it again, because I kind of feel like once I talk about something, then I'm done with it, but I got to do this all over again. So it makes it even worse. Yeah, it's tough to know where to begin, but I'll do my best here. Let's see. Well, as I said, I have been on a self-enforced hiatus for the past few weeks for a variety of reasons, which I got into again on the show last night, which nobody's able to hear because it got completely garbled. It's just I don't even know how it could do what it did. Is what's fucked up about it. It sounds like a double echo. It's just weird. To me, it sounds like there was some sort of error in their audio listening monitoring software, whatever the NSA, NRO, these other alphabet boys use these days. Remember in the old days, I don't know if it's still this way anymore. I think it kind of is on cell phones, but remember back in the old days when you could tell somebody was tapping your phone because you could hear a slight echo that would come back. Well, that's what that recording sounded like yesterday. It sounded like the echo coming back, like it was. You ever hear when somebody goes on a radio show or calls into a radio show, something like a live radio show, and they're listening to the show on the radio, and then they call in, and then you hear like the echo. You can hear the host voice echo, and they're like, "Turn your phone down, sir. Turn your phone down." Kind of like that. That's kind of like what it sounded like because there was like a slight delay to it, and it was doubled, and there weren't any errant effects or anything. There's no effects engaged in this whenever I record the show, so there isn't anything like that. But it really sucks because it's been a long way for me to get back just to be up here and doing another show again. So again, I'm going to do my best here to go through all this tonight and do my best to reiterate what I already talked about yesterday. Well, let's go back first then. Let's go back to the first of the month, a couple weeks ago, 1st of October, end of September. This would have been the weekend. This was the week of the 10-year anniversary of the show. And it was also, that weekend was also our, that whole week also was our fundraising week to cover our operating costs. And that was due on the 1st, which was Sunday. So yeah, during that time I was, trying to raise the funds to get everything covered. On that Friday, a friend of mine, who I knew for almost 20 years, 18 years, yeah, just shy of 20 years, I knew that cat, died unexpectedly. He was like 37. I was really sad, he wasn't sick. He just, he had some kind of heart aneurysm or something, and then went into a medically induced coma and then never recovered, never came back out. And that always brings on, anytime you have somebody like that, especially somebody that young, or close to your age, always brings the normal sort of things that you think about, And around that time, and of course in the shows previous to that, I'd been discussing the Tupac stuff, and I'd been most recently talking about the CIA connections, and the Scientology connections with all that, of course, with Leah Remini, and talking about, oh, you know her name, Jada Pinkett at Tom Cruise's house, and the whole connection with her and Tupac and that whole thing. So I had recently, I guess, just that, like the night before, when my friend died, and then a couple of days later the shooting thing happens, all this stuff, and we'll get to that. But as I was looking into this Tupac stuff, one of the things that I kept coming across, one of the things that a lot of people aren't looking at in this whole thing, is the role of Interscope Records in all this. I was curious because after Tupac's supposed death, his mother, Afeni Shakur, was the one that was in charge of his estate and his catalog and all this stuff. But she died a couple of years ago, so I was curious as to whose hands it was in now, and I was shocked to find out that it's now being handled by Tom Wally. Tom Wally's one of the big guys at Interscope Records, along with Ted Field, and of course Jimmy Iovine. And after the supposed, alleged, we just don't know if he's dead or, a lot of stuff points to the fact that his whole entire death was definitely a staged, faked scenario. Stay with me here. This is all relevant, I assure you. So after we have that, we have, everybody's been trying to pin this stuff on Suge Knight. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Suge Knight has been some angel, but I, like everybody else, have. There's been a massive campaign to pin all this stuff on Suge Knight since the beginning, and the fact of the matter is, he was one of the intended targets. They got intel, and then, of course, set up this fake scenario. But Ted Field and this guy Tom Wally, and then of course Jimmy Iovine, Somebody asked me not too long ago about Eazy-E, and I haven't really had time to talk about that. Excuse me, I've got an uneven floor here that causes my chair to roll sometimes. But there's a direct line between all that stuff, the NWA stuff, and then Death Row Records and Jimmy Iovine, Dr. Dre, Tupac, all this. There's a direct line with all this stuff. And it's interesting because eventually after, Tupac supposedly died, they sent Suge Knight off to prison for his supposed involvement in the whole staged Orlando Anderson beatdown that happened in the MGM Grand just prior to the supposed killing of Tupac. And then you had Reggie White, the former, the corrupt cop from LAPD, and Suge's ex-wife were basically running Death Row, and then he got sold. There was like a deal with Interscope. He got sold for $400 million, with a large chunk of that going to Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre was one of the guys that set all this up. That was another thing that Suge talked about. Suge talked about how he said 95%, he said this on the Howard Stern show, 95% of all hip-hop rappers are all closet case homosexuals. And that was what happened. That's what the whole breakup with Dr. Dre and Death Row and all that stuff happened, was because they used to have these, this is hilarious, they used to have these meetings in this, what they called the Red Room. And in the Red Room, it was like a room that was all carpeted red. And basically they do like these truth or consequences type things in there, where you had to, lay everything on the table. You had to be 100% truthful about everything you felt about. And if you weren't, then you got a beat down. They fucking took you to the beat down. They actually had a room called the beat down room in the recording studio. They would take, and so he's telling this story. Suge Knight's telling this story about Tupac, when they're having one of these sessions, had to tell what was on his mind. And it was just the way he said it. He was like, Dre, use a faggot. And he was like, well, first off, I'm not a faggot. He's like, I can't be making records with somebody who likes to take it up the butt. And he didn't deny that. He said, no, I don't. He said, I'm not a fag. I'm bisexual, and I don't like to pound butt. I like to get pounded in the butt. This is what Dr. Dre is saying. And if you listen to some of those last songs, I never really noticed it before, but in some of those last songs that Tupac did, he says it. He says something like at the end of one of them, he says, California Love Part 2 without gay ass Dre. And I always thought, I never knew about the whole thing with him actually calling him out. And yeah, supposedly there was a dude named Bruce, some dude named Bruce that has been butt partners with Dr. Dre forever and all this stuff. And yeah, man, those guys Jimmy Iovine, you've got all these all these rich white guys, lots of them Jewish. They concocted all that fucking East Coast, West Coast horse shit. They concocted all of it, and they're the guys that made off with the money, and they are guys who are never brought up, very rarely. David Kenner's brought up a lot in the conspiracy research and stuff with Tupac, but a lot of the rest of them aren't. I mean, look at, you have old white Jewish dudes at the forefront of hip-hop at every stage. There's really no question. You don't have to be somebody that, believes in the Jew world order conspiracy and that everything is all about the Jews, to understand that without a shadow of a doubt, hip-hop music 100% from the beginning has been pushed, funded, and brought to the forefront by white Jewish men. And if you don't believe that or you're in denial about that, then you just haven't done your homework. Look at the guy everybody credits Eazy-E with being, the father of gangster rap. He was the guy that started the whole model for what all these rap record labels and the whole industry to begin with was. It was all a front, all of it. The whole entire hip hop industry started in the beginning, and I'll be showing this in the Spellcasters too. This was all because rock and country also play into this because they had a role in this too. It all was started, though, originally as a front to launder drug money from the cocaine trade and the stuff that was going on at, Mena, Arkansas, all that stuff. That's what it was all about. Eazy-E wasn't even a rapper. He was a drug dealer. And he wanted to find some way to clean up his money, so he decided to start this record label. And then, Dr. Dre got him in there, taught him how to rap, and then you got, I can't remember the guy's name, but it was an old white Jewish guy, came put the money up for Ruthless Records, and then, of course, the whole thing with supposedly Suge Knight or somebody wanting to get Dre's contract to bring him over and start Death Row and all that stuff, and, Eazy-E goes from, he never had HIV. That's the thing. He went from like healthy to full blown AIDS and dead within a couple of months. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Even there's footage. There is footage of Suge Knight, just like there's multiple instances of him saying, Tupac may or may not be dead. Look at this evidence. Why did the guy that do the autopsy? Why would he take $3 million from me and then disappear and he's never been seen again? Stuff like that. But he said it on Jimmy Kimmel. He talked about, he's like, if you want to take somebody out, it's very easy just to inject them with, HIV or AIDS or something like that. It's very easy to do that. Just ask Eazy-E. Pretty much right there admitting that. So Death Row was no different. It was started with proceeds, and the guy there again, David Kenner, the attorney. He was the attorney that got Snoop Dogg off his murder rap. He was the attorney that represented not only Death Row Records and Suge Knight, but then once they got paid all the money and got Tupac out on bail out of prison, he was then Tupac's lawyer. A massive conflict of interest that is only there in a recipe for somebody to be able to get away with, the theft of hundreds of millions of dollars, murder, et cetera, et cetera. And David Kenner knows everybody. He knows all the judges. He's one of the main guys that is able to get away with this. Where were his offices located at? This blew me away. They were all located inside Interscope Records offices. Interscope Records has been basically behind all this stuff. Think about it. Tupac either dies or goes into hiding. Suge gets sent away from prison for 9 years. Where does all that money? Death Row was almost, in 1996, was worth almost $1 billion. Yet Tupac never saw a dime from any of his royalties or Big Cent. Never saw a dime. A lot of people didn't. It takes a lot of years for money to kick in for royalties and stuff. Even Kurt Cobain didn't see a lot of the money. He didn't see. Randy Rhoads never saw a dime of his money. And they even refused to pay his family. And don't worry, I'm going to expose all that. Sharon Osbourne's fucking punk ass is going down. She'll probably fucking put a hit out on me and have me killed. I'll get to that, because that's another element of something I've been going through here. But as I was looking at this information, I came across a pretty interesting thing. Do you know how many murders, how many people were shot and murdered and gunned down on the Las Vegas Strip? Right there where all the casinos are at. You know how many people that happened to prior to the alleged murdering of Tupac there? 0. You know how many happened there between the time of the Tupac supposed murder and the most recent Mandalay Bay shootings there in Las Vegas? Zero. I started following the shooting in Las Vegas as soon as it popped off, and that's immediately what just stuck out at me. I mean, you understand this thing happened a couple of blocks, if that. I mean, we're talking a couple of blocks, right? I mean, right there where the Tupac thing happened. "21 years later, almost. I mean, just shy. Almost 21 years. You know, I mean, all these numbers. I'm not going to get into all that. There's plenty of other people who've covered that all over the internet by now, I'm sure. But I mean, just the 21 years. You know, since the Tupac assassination. They're almost identical place. I mean, I went to Vegas a couple of years ago. Went through there a few times when we were shooting Lost Secrets of Ancient America and stuff. I stayed at the Luxor. I mean, I remember thinking from the very beginning, from where that Mandalay and stuff was at. I mean, that's, you know, even with some high-powered scopes, those are some long shots. But I was following things from the very beginning, as soon as the shooting started popping off, and you know, I was pulling down raw video and stuff as soon as it came off of there. You know, there's always been talk about, you know, fake shootings and drills and crisis actors and stagings. And look, I'm not somebody who thinks that you could make all of these events fit into the same exact neat little box. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of people out there, you know, people on YouTube and, you know, different conspiracy things, they all try to make everything fit in this neat box so they can somehow justify the other things they've already tried to make fit in that same neat little box. And I don't think you can make all of these different events. You just can't. You can't make all these different events fit the same neat little box. You to say that the most recent Las Vegas thing is the exact same as, you know, I can't remember all the fucking names of all the ones that have happened. There's been so many, you know, that have been faked or said to be faked or whatever else. But I don't think they're all fake. I think in some cases, you know, people have been shot, but not shot by these alleged shooters that we never see and are never, you know, or die before they're ever, you know, brought to trial. No information's ever given, you know, all this crap. But one of the things I noticed immediately is that, you know, somebody that works in audio and works in sound, even when the first initial videos were coming out from the Las Vegas shooting, the one thing I noticed immediately was that the sound, it sounded like Foley, like sound, you know, like After Effects, you know, post-production added gunshots, because I noticed that the echoes just didn't sound right from the distance from where they were at, where that concert stage was at, to the Mandalay Bay, and then, you know, the Luxor and all that's right there. I mean, the Luxor's a giant fucking glass pyramid. And the Mandalay Bay was on the left-hand side of that. I mean, the sound of a high-powered gun like that would have been, the sound would have been reflecting off of that glass and bouncing back down directly. But it sounded like the shots did not sound like they were coming or like they were in the actual video. They sounded like they were added after the fact. I can't describe it. It's just something you hear. Anybody that's worked with audio will know what I'm talking about. If you haven't ever worked with audio before, you won't know what I'm talking about. But anybody that's ever done even rudimentary things with audio knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's a thing where you can hear it, because all the other ambient noises and sounds blend in as one echo, right? But when you hear two separate individual things, and one has its own amount of ambient noise and echo and sound, and the other has a separate one, all within the same space, that's the same as somebody, you know, double tracking or doing an overdub when they're recording a song in a recording studio. But instead of adding another guitar to it, they're, you know, pushing up the fader on the machine gun sound. And even in the initial videos, I could see people on the ground shooting, and there was pictures of the cops that were that were surrounding the area, and they weren't pointing their guns up in the air towards the Mandalay. They were pointing their guns on the ground because there were people on the ground shooting. So I don't fall into the camp that thinks this is 100% fake. Nobody died. People do die at these things, but they die at the hand of these mercenaries and the rest of it. Another thing, I don't believe this was, excuse me, I don't believe this was CIA like a lot of them was. I don't believe this was us. Have we murdered our own citizens before? Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. They got no qualms about it. But this is different. I don't know. I'm thinking, Mossad or British SAS. British SAS, believe it or not, they're there working in the background a lot of these supposed ops. You probably heard the stories about Jonestown and the whole drinking the Kool-Aid thing. It actually didn't go down like that. They concocted that story after British SAS came in and fucking murdered everybody, gunned everybody down. There was something different about this. And again, with all of those, with the amount of people they said got shot, just nothing added up. I was literally, as soon as the news broke, had only been happening minutes. And I was already pulling every video down I could find. And again, in none of these videos do you see anybody getting hit. It's easy for people to say now, yeah, they haven't allowed those to be online, and that's a good thing. No. That's what people don't understand, is these videos were coming out as it was happening, and you never saw anybody get shot. There was just a bunch of sound. There's a picture of that one dude who was my hero, by the way, standing holding the fucking middle finger up towards the fucking Mandalay Bay with a tall boy still in his hand. He's not getting hit. There was something different about this. And look, I predicted this was going to happen years ago. I said they were going to start doing this at music festivals. Again, this is all about all of this stuff, man. And then, of course, the following day, Tom Petty dies. And there was a whole bunch of craziness around that. First, reporting that he's dead, and then coming back saying that he's not dead, and reporting later on that night and saying that he was actually dead. And then, the fact that he was death hoax last year. But I got to tell you, man, Tom Petty, he really, honestly, big crushing blow to me for a lot of reasons. I'll tell you the truth. Tom Petty and Kurt Cobain. That was the whole reason I wanted to play guitar when I was 13, 14 years old. That was that was it for me. Yeah, I huge Tom Petty fan. The Brits, man. You guys are lucky. I mean, the majority of because it's honest to God truth. It really is. The majority of the greatest bands of all time come from the UK. I mean, it's just there. It's undeniable. I mean, you could go through the list, but we could be sitting here all day. We can go through the obvious ones: Beatles, Stones, Zeppelin, Queen, The Who, Oasis. I mean, you can go on and on and on all day long. Some of the biggest and greatest bands of all time come from Britain. So we've had a lot of good bands. We've had a few great bands that have come out of the U.S. We've had the Beach Boys, and we've had, gotta see how hard it is. Aerosmith, the Eagles, I guess. I'm not really a big Eagles fan, but you see what I'm saying? We've had some pretty big bands and stuff, but I mean, you have to think about it a lot longer, don't you? When you go to try to name truly great, I mean fucking great, worldwide, huge, mega. But Tom Petty, man, you could definitely put him in that category. He was one of us. If you're a musician like I am, he was one of us. He absolutely was. Never, the guy never sold out. But here's the thing about all this. My friend passed away. I'm doing all this Tupac research, blah, blah, this and that. I'm realizing how fucking close I'm getting and how much darker and deeper this is than I've even realized. The shooting thing happens in Vegas, which I immediately just took, again, knowing straight up, no matter what they tell us, we know, we can all disagree and argue over what we think happened on that thing, but we can all, just like 9/11, agree that whatever did happen, it sure as fuck isn't what they told us is going on. That's the thing, is that's why it's taken them so long to cook up a narrative, and now, people are disappearing and all. It's just bizarre. That's the reason this is so out of control, is because this is not us. If this was a normal CIA stage shooting thing, or one that was done by an American contractor or something, as we saw with the Boston bombing and other events, this would have already have been wrapped up with a nice little bow on it. They would have already had motive. The patsy wrapped up with a bow under the Christmas tree. This is the reason why there's so much, changing the story. They've changed the narrative 18 fucking times. Still can't figure out, the motive. Trump says, oh, this guy obviously had shit in his brain wired wrong. He's fucked in the head. Then they cut his brain open and go, actually, no. They can't find anything. I mean, this guy obviously was, a patsy and probably under mind control and hypnotized and all the rest of this stuff, as they always are. I mean, you got the disinfo shills out there like Jones. I mean, Jones just proven himself to be the fucking Trump lackey lapdog he is, saying this was Bolsheviks. It's like, come on, fuckhead. I mean, it's just fucking ridiculous. But I saw it immediately as nothing more but a continuation of what you really cannot, it's a war. The larger war is the war on individuality and the war on the free expression and the true expression of the soul. And that all goes back to, the individualism. And again, that's what all of this, that's what's under attack here. Every time one of these things happens and we have to, instate more security and more precautions and more TSA stuff. Now they're saying, some states, because of fucking real ID stuff, some people that live in some states, you live in states like Oklahoma and everything, you're going to have a passport just to fly on a plane to another state? And again, whose agendas are really being advanced in all this? The agendas of these supposed patsies and these supposed terrorists? No. Hell no. And again, I made the prediction a few years ago on this show. I said they're going to start attacking concerts because they talked about they were going to start putting biometric face scanners at outdoor concerts, and already have. Just if you go to a concert, an outdoor concert, you're just going to be randomly subjected to facial scan biometrics just because. Because that's just because, not to protect you from anything, but just because we can do it now, because we have the precedent to do it. And that's immediately what I took it as. And then when I heard this stuff about Tom Petty, I got to tell you, man, for lack of a better term, I've really just been on the verge of a nervous breakdown. After not meeting our 10-year anniversary goal and not being able to get any new equipment here, which we desperately fucking need. We barely survived and barely made it again on our operating costs for the month. We cannot have that happen again this month, or we're sunk for good. It's a fact. My friend of 18 years dies. This shooting shit pops off. Again, I'm already working on this film, and one of the main things, just like what happened a few months ago, and I told you there was more of this coming, didn't I? Go back and listen to the shows earlier this year when Chris Cornell died, and then Chester, remember I told you there was going to be more of this coming this year? I said that right around that time, and I was freaked out then, but I'm even freaked out more now. Because I'm sick of being right about this stuff, folks. It does not give me comfort for me to be right about this stuff, yet I continue to be right about this. Just like I was right about Harvey Weinstein. I told you a few years ago, go back and listen to those shows. Remember when I was talking about when the movie The Master came out? That was what got me on that Channel 5 show about Scientology. And I said, oh man, I'm scared for Philip Seymour Hoffman now because, you know, you don't portray the fucking master. You don't portray Elron. He's, you know, godlike to these people. Just the sheer fact of somebody portraying him in a way that, in any way that Scientologists approve of, is a huge, huge mortal sin for them. And they tried to get Harvey Weinstein to not put up the money for the movie to be made. They tried to get him to defund the movie, and he told them to go fuck themselves. And they even stated, there was somewhere where it was stated, I can't remember where, verbatim where it was, but they said something to the effect of, well, we're going to ruin him now. And that's the thing about Scientology, man. They don't always do it immediately. They like to wait a little while. Ask yourself, I mean, of course we know fucking Harvey Weinstein's a scumbag. Of course. Of course that kind of shit's been going on in Hollywood. But why have they waited to do it now? Why are they doing it now? And again, where are the Scientologists making claims? There had to be somebody that was a Scientologist that he tried to grope or do something to, right? All right, we hadn't heard anything about that. And then, about a week or so ago, Scientology runs, you're probably aware, they run a lot of these fake, they've been doing it forever, they're fake news sites. And anytime anybody is an enemy of the church, they run a piece on them that it's basically like, it's just like fake news, really, because it presents itself like it could be real, but it's totally fake. But they put it out like it's somebody randomly doing this. It's actually being put out by the church. It's satire of the Church of Scientology being put out by them. And I think the name of the website is something OT8 is great. So it's like OTV1, 1111 ISGRRRR8, the world's best satire of the Church of Scientology and its leader, David Miscavige. Now, this is stuff that's put out by them. And this was put out on October 9th, 2017. Harvey Weinstein turns to the Scientology Celebrity Center for help. Disgraced Hollywood honcho Harvey Weinstein has turned to the Church of Scientology Celebrity Center for help, reported Scientology spokesman Ken Delusion. That's their fake person, Ken Delusion. Mr. Weinstein is currently staying in the penthouse of the Celebrity Center, receiving intensive Scientology auditing to help him, excuse me, to help him handle his sexual harassment engrams. Deluded noted, Mr. Weinstein is confessing all of his crimes in the Scientology procedure known as a sec check. Mr. Weinstein can rest assured that his confessional information is safe with Scientology and will never be used against him. Tom Cruise and John Travolta can attest to the fact that they have never once been blackmailed by Scientology over the filthy and lurid secrets that they have been giving up in auditing, Delusion assured. In gratitude for Scientology taking him in and helping him when no one else would, Harvey Weinstein has already donated $2.5 million to the IAS. In happier news, Harvey Weinstein will be dining with Scientologist Danny Masterson this evening to discuss Scientology techniques for handling scurrilous attacks upon one's character known as black PR. At present, Danny Masterson is handling black PR with the help of his criminal defense attorney and Scientology's Office of Special Affairs. Notice how it goes into like serious stuff, kind of dark there at the end. And basically that's what they just accused Harvey Weinstein. It was black PR against the church because, again, they tried to get him to defund the master, and they swore that they were going to ruin him. And looky here what's happening now. And they do this every few years. I mean, whether it's, Bernie Madoff or whether it's, a few of these Mark McGuire or whoever, and fucking Sammy Sosa. Every 5-10 years in different fields, they like to have a stage managed scandal that then people associate with one person, or fucking what was the thing that happened at Penn State? You think that shit ain't still going on? You think just because they outed fucking Joe Paterno and took his statue down that kind of shit is stopped? Give me a fucking break. You think there aren't still people out there like Bernie Madoff predatorily taking advantage of people and extorting billions of dollars? Give me a fucking break. You think there aren't people still fucking juicing steroids in sports? Yet everybody gets the feel-good moment. Oh, we get some bad guys. This is the same horse shit. The same fucking horse shit. And it's being timed with all these other events because this is a continuation of the breaking down of things that people have become attached to intentionally. It's all as part of the same fucking plan. There's no other word for it, man. It's the war on art, war on rock, whatever you want to call it, war on music. I mean, when I saw these shootings happening at a music festival to music fans, real or not, it doesn't matter whether or not they had multiple, military shooters and people that were actually getting shot and killed, or whether it was all staged and nobody got killed. It doesn't fucking matter, people, because the end result and goal is the same. And that is the continued breaking down of the lifestyle and stuff that people have grown accustomed to. That's the way you continue to erode freedom. They want to make people scared to go to music festivals or concerts. They want to make people see that the problem is that for the longest time, these music acts and in the movie industry and the rest of this stuff, just like I've talked about in the Spellcasters 1, they had a hold of this stuff for a long time, man. They did. But over the last decade or so, people have gotten more savvy. People have started to figure this stuff out. And so even though they try, and even though they still use pop stars and musicians and movie stars and whatever else, everybody else, TV stars for their agendas, they've really outlived their usefulness to the grand master plan. So that's it, because people have started to make TV shows with stuff that has the truth in it. People have started to make movies where there's truth encoded, embedded into the movies. People start to make albums and make records where a lot more people are singing stuff about the truth, than they used to be. And then, all my fall research, my research into the whole fake Paul McCartney thing ties into all this. I was talking about Jimmy Iovine, right? The sale of Death Row Records, what happened with all that? Jimmy got his big chunk of change. What did he do? He teams up with Dr. Dre, who was still scalded about all the bullshit that, he narked a bunch of people out. Was a snitch to a bunch of people at Death Row, Dr. Dre was. What happens? They invest in this Beats headphone thing. They get everybody to buy these fucking ridiculous, stupid headphones that I've never owned a pair of Beat headphones, and I never will. I saw that scam from day one. If you know anything about audio and anything about that, you know that, again, there's only so many. You can only reinvent the wheel so many ways. Basically overpriced bullshit. They then sold that shit to Apple, who made all those billions off of, their bullshit software and their iPhone tracking us and all their computers and stuff that you have to use. You have to have Macs. I have to have Macs to make films, otherwise you can't do the same shit on a fucking PC. The software is just not there. And then what do? They sell that shit for $1 billion. Their money gets nice and laundered, and those guys walk away Filthy Rich. How did Jimmy Iovine get his start? You know who the first person he ever worked with was? He was just a fucking studio lackey runner. And the guy that was supposed to do the session canceled or couldn't show up, and he did it, and it was with John Lennon. And then later he did Tom Petty. Damn the Torpedoes, one of Tom's best records. I also happen to know that Tom, and this is what really put the fucking, as soon as I had already had all this stuff weighing on me, man. Then Tom dies. Again, not only was my huge Tom Petty fan, but even aside from being the massive fan of him that I always have been, knowing that he was one of the last few people, and he was another one of that now even shorter list of people that knew the identity of not only knowing the fact that Paul McCartney was replaced. He not only was one of the people in the know about that, he was also one of the few people in the know about who the old Paul McCartney became. And man, everybody who's had that information, and I'm telling you folks, nobody but me has figured this out. Everybody else that's had that information, folks, have been in many cases murdered, set up. I mean, they set Phil Spector up for murder because he started threatening. Because Phil Spector found out about it around the same time Jimmy Iovine did, because he worked with Jimmy Iovine after he worked with Phil Spector, and during that time, that was when John had related to Phil Spector the stuff about the fake Paul and all the rest of it. And so Bob Dylan, Bob Dylan's very interesting. Bob Dylan plays into all this somehow. I haven't quite figured out all the ways he ties into all this. It's very strange. I don't know whether it's very possible he's been replaced by somebody too. But that was the whole thing with Phil Spector. He was threatening to go to public with the stuff he knew about the fake Paul, because Paul decided he was going to go look at the timeline of this. It's bizarre, like how quickly, right on top of each other, all this happened. Paul said he was going to come out with his own version of Let It Be called Let It Be Naked. Of course, he waited until after, of course, George Harrison was dead, because George would have never fucking stood for that. Where he was going to strip all the Phil Spector stuff off of Let It Be. But what specifically he was doing it for was was to strip off the part with John Lennon, where John Lennon singing about to the tune of Bob Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone, which is another clue that quite possibly Bob Dylan was replaced. But he's singing, like a rolling stone, like the CIA and the FBI, like Doris Day, B.B. King, Matt Busby. And then you go and research B.B. King, Matt Busby, Doris Day. They were all said to have been replaced by and replaced, just flat replaced with doubles with other people. I looked into them, man. Look at the B.B. King one, really blew me away. Go look at the early pictures of B.B. King and the early records and listen to it. It's not the same guy. You can tell. You look at it. It's not the same dude. Totally different. But again, John knew something about this. He knew about this, and again, Phil knew about it. Phil was pissed they were messing with his stuff and doing it after, the guys who would have defended him the most, John and George, because he worked with both of them individually on solo albums. And then in I guess 83, 84, somewhere around there, can't remember exactly when, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers go out on tour with Bob Dylan as his backing band. they would open the show as the Heartbreakers and play their songs, and then Bob would come out and they would do Bob Dylan songs. And towards the end of that tour in England, just one night out of the blue, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, a lot of the Beatles head office guys, their business people, Derek Taylor and stuff, just basically just show up randomly backstage at the Bob Dylan show. And while they're there doing that, supposedly during this time, this is when Bob Dylan related the information about the fake Paul and who the old Paul really became to Tom Petty. And right after he had had this birthday thing where they came backstage, George and Ringo and all of them, while he's there in England finishing up the tour, someone tries to go and burn Tom Petty's house down. This doesn't get talked about a lot. They literally, and the firemen and everything determined that it was arson and that somebody was doing this with the intent to kill him. And there's a quick piece of footage. It's just one piece of footage I found. And I'm going to have it in the Spellcaster too, where Tom Petty says point blank, someone tried to assassinate me. Because in the other stuff, they just say, oh, it was arson. But he specifically in one clip says, they tried to assassinate me. Who controls Tom Petty's music after he passed away? Who knows? Maybe his wife. I don't know. But the fact, look at this. And then the other one nobody's really mentioning, I think there was a third thing that they tried to do that weekend that failed. And that was with Marilyn Manson. By the way, when I was talking about the whole thing, like the CIA and the FBI and B.B. King, Matt Busby, Doris Day, again, she was also said to be replaced. And Doris Day ties into the whole Manson thing that ties into this story I'm weaving with MK Ultra, and it's mind-boggling. And Fall and Charles Manson, and the whole Beach Boys thing, and the CIA, and Doris Day's son, Terry Melcher, and the whole Manson. It's just, it's absolutely fucking. I basically, for lack of a better term, had a nervous breakdown. I'm feeling better talking about this today than I was yesterday. To be honest with you, I didn't know up until recently if I was going to continue or not, and if I was even going to put out this Spellcaster 2. When all this stuff with Tom Petty and then the shooting and then my friend, all this stuff, compiling up, it's really just freaked me the fuck out. I'm not going to lie to you. Shit. Sorry about that. The chair rolled away again. There it's going again. Fuck. Oh, there we go. Because I'm not going to lie to you, folks. A lot of the stuff I've come across and I'm putting in this film, I'm telling you the God, honest to God fucking truth. This is not bullshit. This is not, ego or me trying to puff this up. I'm onto some shit here, and I found some shit nobody else has. And when I put this out, it's just a matter of time till they kill me. That's the realization I came to after all this stuff popped off all at once, and I started realizing what I was truly onto with this, especially with the fall stuff and just all of it. 3 or 4 different things I figured out. Nobody else has figured out where I'll put. If it was just one of these things, okay, maybe not. I've got 3 or 4 or 5 things that are going to be in this movie that are probably going to get me killed. And that's been my dilemma. That's why I've been on hiatus. That's why I have, on top of us not reaching, us not reaching our goals, all that rest of that stuff, it just compounded this, because I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Everything I've done the last 10 years has been completely selfless, to the detriment of my life, to the detriment of my well-being, to the detriment of everything. I have 100% put the truth and this work and everything number one before everything else in my life, period, including my own health. And at some point, anybody who's not completely batshit crazy out of their mind is going to eventually say, enough is enough, and is this really worth it? Because I got no problem dying for my beliefs and dying for what I believe in if it's going to be worth it. If that's, but God damn it, man, with the exception of a very few of you out there, I'm just having doubts of whether or not this is fucking worth it or not. You don't support my work, most of you. The few that you do, I'm grateful for you, and I love you and appreciate you more than you'll ever know. But when it's the minority of people who actually contribute and will actually want to see us do huge things here that can fucking change the whole mindset of what people think they know and believe about this crap. And I know they're going to kill me for it. And I'm just still wondering if I just don't, I'm just wondering if it's worth it, man. It's been heavy on my mind. I almost didn't come back. Because I don't mind dying for a cause if it's worth it, but I'm not going to give my life up for a bunch of ungrateful fucking people who want to write me emails and have conversations with me about topics thinking that I don't know about this stuff, when all they have to do is watch one of my movies. It costs $10 to download. And I said, well, did you watch my movie? If you watched my movie, you wouldn't be asking me this. Well, no, I didn't watch it. Why are you listening to my show and you haven't seen my movies? That's number one. That's where the info is, not this stupid radio show. You think I'd get up here on something that's just given away for free and give away all the research and all the stuff that I've... Hell no. I don't get up here. You want all the info, man, you got to buy the movies. Oh, you didn't know? Yeah. And I'm getting ready to drop a new audiobook too. And it ain't going to be on YouTube, just like the last two I have been. I get people from that all the time. Oh, how come you don't do audiobooks anymore? I've put out 2 in the past couple of years. Atlantis and the Giants and our History of Atlantis. I put those out just over the past couple of years. Oh, but you didn't know that because they weren't ripped from my radio show and uploaded to YouTube without my permission, like some of the older audiobooks were. So yeah, if you, I still do audiobooks, but they're just not given away for free. You got to go buy them in the download shop. And that's the other thing. There's going to be, we're going to be start making some changes. I'm not going to be giving all this away for free anymore. I'm not going to be giving away every show for free anymore. You can get a membership, or you can pay $3 per show when I put them up to download. Whatever. I just barely made it through, barely made it to survive. Didn't reach our 10-year anniversary. I've been on the air for over 10 years. I've been doing this longer than almost anybody. My research and my track record and what I've put out does not deserve to be treated the way it's treated by people who just want to take and give nothing back. And I'm just not going to do it anymore. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to the work I put in. It's not fair to the people out there who do put up money and support us and help us get by and make it every month. It's not fair all the way around. And I'm not going to give my life for a bunch of ungrateful fucking people, which a lot of you out there are. And if this sounds harsh or whatever to you, then go on down the road. I don't need you. Because the people who truly know what we're doing here and truly understand what we're up against and truly have seen what I have produced will continue to support my work. And there will be others that see what I do that will come on. I'm in some cases with some of this research years ahead of people, folks. It took people years to catch up with my CMP stuff. Nobody was even willing to even entertain that CMP stuff for like 4 or 5 years after I'd already been into it. Give me a break. And I'm telling you, if I put out this Spellcasters 2 as I've been, looking at, it's, again, that's going to be delayed because of all this. It's going to be longer of that coming out because I'm going to have to go back and change some stuff now. But that's the main thing, man. Everybody just wants. Oh, we want the info, but they don't want to fucking help the info be made or help us be able to even continue to do what we're doing. And so the risk far outweighs the benefit. Look, if we had all the money we needed to make these films and buy all kinds of new equipment and fund these films with no problem and not have to do it on, not even a shoestring. We get the fucking, the little end of a shoestring that gets all frayed and breaks off the little plastic cap around it. That's what the budget we get. We get the plastic cap around the shoestring. We don't even get the shoestring fucking budget. But every single one of our audience members, and we have thousands per show every week, every one of those people could contribute a couple of bucks a month and we would be swimming in cash. But you've got a large majority of people, they don't give a shit about whether or not I'm able to continue. A lot of it's out of jealousy. They just strictly want the information so they can then take it and use it for their own devices and never, ever give credit to where they fucking have taken it from. People have done that to me on the CMP stuff. They've taken years of my research and gone and doing radio shows and going on shows and doing interviews, and they never mention me and act like I don't exist. They've done that with my Rockwall work and my Lost Secrets work. They've done it with some of my Spellcaster stuff. People continue to take my work. They did it. Fucking Ancient Aliens did it to me. There was shit that was on Ancient Aliens on the first season before it came out. Nobody was talking about it. I used to get laughed off radio shows for even bringing it up. These people have continued on all levels. People from the YouTube level on up to the fucking History Channel and Discovery Channel, all that shit levels. These people have continued to take my work, change it up, reword it. They've continued. People have continued to build careers off of my work, and they never give me credit or even say, hey, look at Josh Reeves for this. Very few people do that. I think what's his name? Been on a show a few times. Richie in Boston. I had somebody email me last week. Oh, Richie in Boston said you were one of the top shills on YouTube. And this email came 2 hours after I got an email from Richie in Boston asking me to come on his show. So I knew it was horseshit immediately, going, okay, the guy asked me to come on his show, and yet I'm with the biggest shills on YouTube. This isn't right. So I'll go and pull the show up where he supposedly said this. And of course, right there, the guy, Richie in Boston says, hey, go check out Josh Reeves' channel. If you really want to know who all the top shills are in the so-called truth movement, he's the channel you need to go check out because he's the one that fucking knows about it all. He's giving me a huge compliment. And people do that all the time to my stuff. They'll say, oh, you said this and this. I'll be like, what? I didn't say it. People just hear what they want to hear. Pull the fucking shit out of your ears and out of your brain, people. Quit trying to start shit where people do that all the time. They'll say, oh, so-and-so said something about you here. And I'll go, listen to it. They're not fucking talking about me. You just imagined that. But one that somebody did point out, I have to give them props for recently, that I do agree with, was it was Alex Jones was talking about the whole Harvey Weinstein thing. And he was talking about, he saw Quentin Tarantino one time in Alamo Drafthouse. And a listener said, hey, check this out, dude. He took your story, the story that you have about him, about when he gave you the fucking, that's in Spellcasters 1 and the demon look and all that stuff that he gave you. He took your story about him and he inserted himself and Quentin Tarantino in the place and talked about how Quentin Tarantino looked at him and gave him this evil look like he was a demon or something, or had a demon in him. And I went and listened to it. Sure fucking enough, dude, it sure does sound like he just took my fucking story and made his own out of it. To try, as a subtle way for people to have heard that, to try and flip the script around. Nobody's buying your shit, Jones. Come on, buddy. This ain't 2007 anymore, dude. Okay? People were a lot more apt to still buy your shit back then. People are awake now. People have figured it out and figured you out. So, just stop. It's just it's mind-boggling. The stuff that continues to happen, the stuff that's just happened this year, as I've been making the Spellcasters 2, that has not only proven even more and reinforced the information that I found, it is now getting to the point, ladies and gentlemen, where it's just beyond, just freaky or coincidental. This is downright fucking scary. I mean, Tom Petty, he walks off a world tour 4 or 5 days later and croaks dead. That was a big cash cow. Tom Petty saying, I don't want to do this. That's the other thing. That's one of the things I'm showing in Spellcasters 2 is how many of these deaths or supposed deaths or whatever, or killings. I mean, Tupac, Randy Rhoads, Kurt Cobain, Tom Petty. Maybe a bunch of other ones that we don't know about. Jim Croce. There's one you don't hear every day. You remember Jim Croce? Operator, can you help me make this go? Dies in a plane crash, right? A week after he dies in a plane crash, he gets a letter. His wife gets a letter in the mail from him, from Tom Cruise, that he sent right before he got on the plane. And it was all about how he was quitting the music business to spend time with his wife and his kid and stuff. Then he dies in the plane crash. What happened to Tom Croce's instantly? He's instantly a legend. Sales go through the roof. Kurt Cobain, same thing. He was getting ready. In fact, his suicide note that Courtney added on to was actually not a suicide note. It was a note to his fans about him leaving the music industry. Randy Rhoads, too. Randy Rhoads was getting ready to quit Ozzy, quit music altogether, and go and play classical guitar. Tom Petty, after years of being one of the biggest touring acts on the road, Tom Petty was getting ready to wrap it up. He had arthritis and stuff. Jimmy Iovine. I mean, look at his sales. Look at Tom Petty's sales. Something like the catalog, what was like 6,000% after he died. Who's going to make a big bunch of money off that? Jimmy Iovine, all the rest of these guys. I mean, my God, folks, you can't think any of this is a fucking coincidence at this point. I just, I don't know what to say. But anyway, I've got a new audiobook to be coming out hopefully in the next week or so. I'm going to work as hard as I can this week and hopefully get it out by next week, get it done. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but it's one that absolutely is going to be essential prior to the release of the Spellcasters 2, because it's going to cover a lot of these subjects. So hopefully that'll be out in the next week or so. I'll let you know when it's done. Again, we didn't reach our 10-year anniversary fundraiser goal. I'm going to restart that for a couple of days. Hopefully maybe we can get a little bit more in here. Again, the show yesterday probably, I don't know what happened with that. Hopefully this one's okay, but this probably still, again, a result of this computer that I have that's about to die. The hard drive's been beeping in it, which I'm told means imminent death, which sucks. You know, I got to be honest with you, man. This stuff just kind of all piled onto me all at once. Um, death, and then Rise. I'm coming back yesterday, and I finally got it up to get back. Another one of my favorite people dies. John Dunsworth played Jim Leahy on the Trailer Park Boys. I got into the Trailer Park Boys literally. I know people. There's people. Oh, I was into that before anybody else, like hipsters and stuff. No, literally. When me and my sister first got into the Trailer Park Boys in 2004, literally nobody in the United States knew about it. I only found out about it because of Rush, because I was active in the Rush message boards and fan club stuff for many, many years, and had heard about the show that Alex Lifeson was going to be on, and it was all about the guys in trailer park fucking growing dope and shooting stuff, and they're fucking listening to Rush. I'm like, well, goddamn, I'm checking this out. This sounds fucking great. And the first episode I ever saw was the episode Closer to the Heart with Alex Lifeson. It's still one of my favorite episodes of the entire series. But just this death, and all this stuff piling on top of me, and then another one of my favorite people fucking dies yesterday. God damn. Again, man, I got no problem giving my life for the cause, but I'm not going to give my life up for all the people out there that just want to take, and never give back to my work. I'm not going to do it anymore. It's negative. It's hurtful towards me. It's hurtful towards my true supporters and true people who really, really want to be a part of what I'm doing here and really want to see us succeed, because they know that this is a worthy fucking cause, and you don't get very many worthy fucking causes these days. And I'm tired of those people being a source of just dark, black, negative energy that's sucking us down. I'd much rather focus on the positivity of the people that are in my corner and the people that do want to see this work succeed and believe in it and support it. That's what I want to be talking about. I don't want to be talking about these asshats that don't give a shit, and because they can't do anything for themselves and can't do anything big anyway in their lives, and would never have the guts to gut up and do, put all of your stability and everything in your life, throw it all up in the air just to be able to do a radio show and make films, and do it because you don't want to see the fucking lifeblood of humanity be flushed down the toilet by these scumbags, man. And that's always been my motivation. But I'm sitting over here with pennies, folks. And I just can't see myself putting out making this movie with the information in it, and then only 100 or 200 people seeing it or something. And then these motherfuckers kill me for what I put out in this. And you can sit there and think it's not serious. You can sit there and think I'm just blowing this up. I'm fucking telling you, there is stuff in here fucking nobody knows about. And it's going to get me killed. But I've just had serious doubts of whether any of this is really fucking worth it, man. If we can't even make it month to month, and we can't even get, after 10 years of service, we can't get a little bit of help, which only would have required a couple of bucks from everybody. Listen, if everybody that listened to my show on every show I post on YouTube, if every one of those people who every listen gave $2 all the same time on one day, we wouldn't even have to worry about any of this stuff. But we can't even get people to do that. And any of you in your same situation, you can fucking talk shit on me all you want. Put yourself in my shoes for a minute and think about, what would you do? So that's where I've been. That's why I haven't been here. Because it's, for the first time, I've been thinking about me and myself as a person, which I've completely fucking put aside. In the 10 years I've been doing this, I've done nothing motivated for my own personal fucking gain at all. And goddamn it, for once, I'm thinking about me and my life, because I don't want to fucking die for this bullshit if it's not going to fucking matter. But I mean, our internet's about to be shut off here anyway in the next day or so. I've got to get, you know, at least a few $100 in this week. 400 would be great. We're going to open the 10-year anniversary fundraiser back up until Saturday. Hit that up. The main fucking thing is we need every single person, it doesn't matter, large or small right now, to put something in. What I'm about to fucking hit these people with Spellcasters 2, I'm telling you, it's not PR. It's not me fucking pumping this shit up. This is the most important documentary film that has ever been made. And I've been fucking reluctant to say that until all this shit that's happened recently. And goddamn it, now I know it's the truth. I can say it, and I can say it out loud, and I can say it again. This is the most fucking important film that anybody's ever made. And there is shit in here nobody knows about. And I'm telling you, man, I can't even put into words. It sounds insane for me to say that some of these events and some of these happenings and some of these things that have gone on this year have been a direct result of what they know is coming and what I'm going to be revealing in this film. I know that sounds insane. If I was listening to somebody say it, I would think it was insane too. So I feel you. I get it. But all I can tell you is that has been happening, folks. And I know, man, I'm the first one to fucking admit it sounds batshit fucking crazy. And I've seen it happen. I kept seeing it happen. I've been cool about it. But then when this stuff happened with Tom Petty and all the rest of this stuff, and, you know, the Jimmy Iovine thing and Fall, it's just too much, man. They have been acting in ways this year and doing things with some of these various operations that have been a direct result of what they know is coming, because they've been watching me, they've been monitoring my shit, they fucked my computer up, they've been hitting me with the sonic weapons again, where you get the high-pitched fucking shit in your skull. Man, you know, I don't even want to talk about the negative stuff. All the people out there that support my work and all the people out there who truly put it on the line and stand with me in this work, man, you're all I care about. I salute you. I love each and every one of you. The true people that stand with me, you know who you are. The fakers, you know, that's the thing. You know, every time I say this kind of stuff, I always get comments and people all butthurt about it. Well, you know what? Guess what? If you're not one of the people that's in you know, doing those kind of bad things, you shouldn't be butthurt about. Only the people that fall into the category of being a and never give back to it and want to email me 100,000 times and have conversations about shit, yet they've never watched my movie. You know, I just don't have time for that. It's insulting. You can afford a fucking smartphone or a tablet or an internet connection, but you can't afford a $10 download? Come on. That's spook shit. You just don't want me to see the information or whatever because you're a fucking spook. And you know, when you make that purchase of the download, then I have your information. And then if you start doing, you know, spook activity and black ops stuff around me later, then it's easy for me to figure out who it is. See, that's why they don't, that's why those people don't do that. No fucking excuses. But I'm just not gonna, again, I got no problem dying for a cause that's worthy, but I'm not gonna fucking do it for a bunch of fucking ungrateful fucking losers. Fuck y'all. You go do it. I mentioned earlier with the whole UK thing. I have to say, I got to give it up for the UK. I got to give it up for our brothers and sisters in Great Britain and Scotland, Ireland, the whole British Isles. Because y'all have really, over the past several years, come on strong. I actually went on a rant. It's been a while. It's probably been 6-7 years ago, but I did go on a rant on here one time on the show against the Brits. Called you slimy limeys and everything else. Because we didn't get any support from Britain for a long time. The majority of our support for the longest time came from America only. And I mean, 4 or 5 years, man, we never got nothing from England, nothing. But we had a lot of British and English listeners because I'd get emails. So I went a little hard. I have to admit, I went a little hard on the Brits there one time for that. I don't know how it was a long time ago, so I don't know how many people at that time actually heard it. But I have to say, for whatever reason, you Brits over the past 3 or 4 years, you guys have turned it around. Really, I mean, you've turned it around. You guys went from being our lowest, and I would say dollar-wise, lowest to, it used to be the least amount of support we got seemed to come from England, even though we had a ton of listeners in England. But you guys have turned it around. Over the past 3 or 4 years, I would say now that more of our regular support comes in from Great Britain, comes in from England, than even from the U.S. That's unbelievable. So, goddamn it, never let the English. You guys always seem to answer the call. It's got to be that British pride or something. I don't know, man. You ever notice that though? You call the Brits out on one small little thing. They're like, fuck you, mate, not me. They're like, no. Oh, I don't support Josh Reeves. Huh? I'm giving him $500 right now. Fuck you, you fucking Yank. And I love that they just love my fucking Yank ass. Here I am, the fucking dude from Texas, but I love you all. I really have to say, I want to give a really special thanks and shout out to all my brothers and sisters in the UK, Scotland, Ireland. I mean, hey, my family lineage comes from that whole area, so that's probably why I feel so akin to those people and why they feel akin to me. But you guys have really come on strong, and you've really supported my work in a really unprecedented way, and I think it's a huge thing because it's what I've always wanted. Most of the majority of other shows and stuff like this, especially with American hosts and stuff, majority of their stuff comes in from American because they're coming from strictly an American point of view. And as I've told you from the very beginning, this has never been a nationalistic show, and it never will be. That's why I called it the global reality. This is a reality that affects everyone in the world. And to try and keep it, just relegated to one specific country, man, that's not going to get us anywhere. I want people on my team, and I do have people on my team from all over the planet. I'm happy to say that. I've got listeners and supporters from Canada, UK, Ireland, Scotland, Australia, everywhere. And, again, as negative as some of this stuff can be sometimes, I just want to focus on the positive stuff. So, again, thanks to everybody out there. I don't want to take anything from our great American supporters and donators. We wouldn't be possible without a lot of you in America either. Don't think I'm deriding you in any sort of way. Our American listeners are still just as important, and we have lots of great American listeners and supporters and people that donate every fucking month. You know who you are without fail and help us survive. But I just really, I wanted to give credit where credit was due there for our UK listeners. And also to announce the winner of our 10-year anniversary fundraiser prize pack. And that is Michael. Michael hails from, you guessed it, the UK. Michael's been a great help supporting and donating to the cause for the past several months, and I really appreciate him and all he's done. And thank you very much, Michael. Michael won not only the grand prize, but he also won the drawing, too. Everybody that contributed $100 got their name in a drawing, so he had multiple entries. So you won, Michael. So shoot me an email, send me your mailing address, and as soon as I got an extra $20, the fucking shipping to the UK is brutal. As soon as I got an extra $20, I'll go... and your address, I'll mail your prize pack out to you there to the UK, mate. So thank you very much to everybody who's gotten us this far. And we need all the people who haven't contributed. And we know we've got people out there in the audience that could contribute $500 right now. I know there's people out there that could contribute $1,000, $2,000 right now. There are people out there that could do it. I'm telling you, this film, folks, that's why I don't care how long it takes for it to come out. I've quit fucking having attachment to, oh, I've got to have it done by this time. Again, I like to have goals. I don't give a shit if I don't meet them, but I always like to set goals and go, okay, I want to have it done by such and such time. I will always continue to do that and continue to do that now. But I'm not going to beat myself to death over this stuff anymore, because as I've shown, I mean, you remember in Spellcasters 1, that movie took like a year longer than it was supposed to, but in the end, it ended up being the right thing, because there was stuff that came out that if it would have come out before then, would have not made that movie what it is. So as much as this stuff is starting to literally drive me fucking nuts with the stuff that's coming out that they're doing now, that they're intentionally doing stuff, folks, now to let me know that they're aware of what I'm about to come out with. This is probably one of the single greatest blows to the overall world master plan that's ever been unleashed. And I'm sitting over here with pennies, man. We need a fucking infusion of cash. We need somebody to come up with a goddamn war chest to fucking throw at us right now so we can get this shit going and give me a fucking reason to give my life up for this shit. I know I probably got some stuff left out and I wanted to say. I don't have anything else at this point. I'll put links to all the ways you can support and donate on the video and on our Facebook accounts as well. You can also hit the donate button. You can use a credit card, debit card, or a prepaid card at my website, theglobalreality.com. That's www.the, you got to put the in front of it, theglobalreality.com. That's where you find the donate button. You can also find the subscription button there to subscribe and get a membership to the archives. And also don't forget to check out the download shop with all my movies, the audiobooks, all that stuff in there. We need a fucking war chest with what I'm about to drop with this fucking thing, folks. They're going to continue to try and negate this at every turn. They're going to continue to try to distract away with other bullshit. But we got them dead to rights. But we can't do it without your help. We'll talk again soon, folks. Take care.